Hello and welcome to another episode. Today I'm in my campervan, our Elddis CV40. I'm not going anywhere, unfortunately. I'm here today because basically the weather's got very cold. It's -2 outside, and I was reading lots of things on all the Elddis pages and all the different motorhome and campervan pages about making sure you drain the water out so it doesn't freeze and cause you problems with pipes or tanks splitting, etc. And I thought I'd pay it a visit. Unfortunately, we have to keep our van 30 miles away from home. It's in secure storage. And one of the other problems, which I'm sure a lot of the Elddis CV range owners will tell you, is that the solar controller is not connected as standard to the cab battery. So there's no charge going direct to the cab battery, only the leisure batteries. So in the cold, like with any vehicle, to be honest, the battery drain is quite high, and after 2 weeks of the battery drain from the alarm, you could basically find that you've got a dead battery. So I tend to come here every 2 weeks, give the van a run, make sure the battery's charged. If you give it a sort of 10 miles, half an hour run, I read that's and I've checked it with a voltmeter, it sort of puts it back in the decent range for volts. So that's why I'm here today, just to check out that everything's okay. I've made sure that the tanks were drained, and I did actually do that on our last trip out. But what this episode is about is basically, how did we choose this van over anything else? And when we were looking at leisure vehicles, it was that age-old question: should we go for a motorhome or should we go for a campervan? Should we go for something in between? Does it need to be bigger, smaller? What do we actually need? And as beginners, there was a lot of investigating to do. I went about reading all the different forums and getting advice from people, and I think we've settled on a vehicle that's basically right for us, and it suits us very well. And I'm going to go through why we chose this particular model and why this kind of van over perhaps a motorhome shape or coach built. And this is from a beginner's perspective, like a layman, if you like, because we're not experts at all. I'm also going to ask Sarah to give her opinion on why, in her opinion, she chose this vehicle. You know, it was a collaborative decision. And hopefully it will give some of you guys an idea as to what sort of things you should look at as a beginner or first timer buying a leisure vehicle, as to what you should be looking at. So the first decision was coach built motorhome versus campervan, and we've ended up with something in between. Now, I'm not quite sure what the definition means, but I'm pretty sure from what I've gleaned, the information is that if you've got a panel van conversion, which the Elddis is, or all the Elddis range are a panel van conversion, but it has a shower room, which it does, and a toilet, then it's kind of in a motorhome class. A camper van traditionally would be more classed as the kind of Volkswagen Caravelle range and Volkswagen campers, etc., that don't have a fixed toilet within the van. Although you can add that as an extra, or if you want to sit there just in the middle of the van and do your business, you know, that's up to you, of course. But we definitely wanted a vehicle that had a shower room and a toilet, just for comfort reasons. We wanted to have that flexibility, and we go to sites that have toilet and shower facilities, but it's nice that you have that choice to go off grid if you like. Secondly, the choice was space. Now, if you've got a camper van, the space is a premium. Obviously, you have to be very careful about what you pack. A motorhome, you have more space in there. It's a wider vehicle, and you often have a garage at the back, where in a panel van conversion, obviously, we have double doors, which are lovely in its own right. During the summer, you can have them doors open. So the choice is, space over ease of use and driving. So we, being our first vehicle, I didn't want something too large. I wanted something 6 meters, because that's the kind of sweet spot when you're looking at these kind of vehicles. Because I was told, obviously, getting onto ferries, etc., it's much cheaper if you get a vehicle that's just hitting 6 meters and not over. And the next thing was, obviously, if you go to places like Cornwall, then the roads are very small. A motorhome tends to be 2.5 meters wide, including the mirrors. And with the panel van conversions, you're looking at just over 2 meters. That's a big difference. And I've been caught out already. One of the things I don't like much about this vehicle, although it's got the upgraded sat nav and radio system, is that the sat nav isn't particularly aimed at the leisure vehicle market or a larger vehicle market. And I put in, we was going on a trip locally, and I put in the destination, and it decided to take me down some very small roads, and I ended up on a little bridge that can only take a 3-ton load, which is, you know, very close to the payload on one of these vans. And I had to go through these very thin barriers, and I didn't enjoy the experience, to be honest, because your vision isn't great, is it, in one of these vehicles? Let's be honest. So, you know, it's very clear that if you can get a sat nav on your phone that includes the dimensions of the vehicle, that can be very helpful. But that's a small price to pay, because at the end of the day, if I had a motorhome and had done that, I would have been in serious trouble. Because it was a van, I managed to squeeze through and get myself out of trouble. So, panel van versus motorhome, we thought we could have everything in this van, and the CV range suited us. There's 4 vehicles in the CV range, Elddis range. It's CV20. Now the CV20, the only thing that lacks that I would like is this front part where I'm sitting now, the front dining area, where you have the 2 extra belted seats, and you can sit here when you turn your captain seats around, and you can have 4 of you sitting there in the dining area. What you sacrifice with a CV20 is that, but you gain a lot of space at the back. You can have 2 single beds or 1 very large double bed. And if you're over kind of 5'10", 11, I would think you'd have to consider having a CV20, because basically your legs are going to be up where you can't fit transversely on the double bed when it's made up. One I did consider as well was the CV80, which has the pop top roof and a bed in the roof. That was very appealing for the extra bedroom space, but what you sacrifice there is payload. I'm not a small guy myself, and then by the time you get a couple of us in here, all the stuff you're taking away with you, we were worried about, you know, the weight of the vehicle and basically exceeding the payload. So that was something we had to consider, and the weight of that pop top really adds considerable weight. So the CV40 was the perfect one for us. We wanted the extra kind of made up bed at the front. It gives you a bit of flexibility. It's certainly okay for a child or somebody up to 5'8" if they're prepared to kind of muck it a little bit, you know, and sort of, you know, compromise. With the bed at the back, we were both, you know, under 6 foot, so it's fine. We can fit in the bed. It's fine. There is some compromises size wise. I tell you what, if I eat many more sausages when I'm living on the van when we're away in it, I'm definitely not going to be able to fit through this space. That's down the middle of the van. I have to turn sideways to get through it. That's a compromise. But let's run through some of the things I love about the van and why we chose this maybe over something else. And some of these things will be included in other vans of the same kind of type. They cross over. We chose the Elddis range because it represented good value, although from what I understand the prices have gone up considerably. You know, you were looking at in 2019 when the range was kind of released at its early stage, you were looking at kind of early £40,000 for one of these vehicles, and now I'm told for the dealer specials you're going to be looking in 2023 2024 kind of heading towards 70,000. That's just a sign of the times and where we are with everything going up in price. So let me run through what I love about this van and what made us choose it. So we've gone through like why we chose a panel van conversion over a motorhome, and it's basically just because of the size of the vehicle, whilst not compromising too much on what you've got in it, apart from, you know, space. You know, if you had a cat, you wouldn't be able to swing him round in here, but we happily come away with the parrot in his cage and sit him on the 2 belted seats that are opposite me now. Quite happy to do that. The sliding door at the side we love in the summer. It's nice to have that open with the fly screen closed. You can eat your dinner here, or you can sit at the back and have the back doors open. That's a lovely advantage of having a panel van conversion. The other thing is storage. It's not too bad. We actually were pleasantly surprised with the storage we get. We get some storage above the cab here that you can keep, you know, your cushions in and a lot of the covers and things you carry around. And overhead storage is great. Overhead storage at the bedroom is great. The cupboard space, obviously it's compromised, but there's enough. If you're very careful about what you pack, there's enough to keep all your essentials there, no problem at all. The other things we love is the kitchen area. As opposed to some of the Continentals, the CV range has a full-size oven. It has an actual oven and a gas burner, and our one is one of the dealer specials that has the electric hob as well, so it gives you flexibility. So when we're on hookup, we can use the electric hob. It's not costing us any of our resources on the gas, and we got 3 hobs we can use if you're using the gas as well, and it's got a gas oven as well. Very handy. And it also has a decent fridge as well. It's a Thetford compressor fridge. There's always a question mark. People say, oh, compressor fridge or freeway fridge. And I can see the advantages and disadvantages of both. From our consideration, a compressor fridge is a lot easier to manage. You haven't got to worry about being so level when you're parked up, because apparently some of the freeway fridges can give you trouble if you're not level. A compressor fridge will always work, and it'll get to temperature quite quickly, and it's very efficient really for what it is. I think it uses 2 or 3 amps averagely an hour. We can manage it off grid. We've managed 3-4 days. We've only 1 solar panel, the standard kind of setup on here. We have got 2 leisure batteries though. We do tend to turn it off if there's not too much stuff in there during the night or something like that, or put it onto night mode. That seems to help as well. We don't have any problem with the compressor fridge. I certainly wouldn't swap it for something that is less convenient than a cutting 2 vents into the side of the van. So we're happy with that. The next thing I'm happy about, it's a very small thing really, is it's got an underslung gas tank as opposed to gas bottles. Now, if you can find the auto gas on a petrol forecourt somewhere or some other gas supplier, you're only paying between 80 pence a litre and £1, and you're not having to change over gas bottles, etc. So I find that really convenient. So it's cheaper, and these gas last for ages. I mean, we were off grid nearer the end of the year, and also some of the time during the summer, so we was using the gas for cooking, and we did have the heating on a couple of times. And to be honest, when we got the van, because we bought this used, it was 3 years old when we bought it, it was 3/4 full, and we used the gas and we cooked without thinking too much about it during the summer. We went away nearly every weekend, and that gauge has hardly moved, so the gas lasts for ages, and it's really convenient to not have gas bottles rattling around, and then with the shortages of gas bottles and everything, getting hold of them, I just think it's an extra convenience you can do without. The other thing that the dealer special has that I like is having the microwave. Now, when I first bought the van, I was like saying to Sarah, microwave, waste of time really. I could have done with the cupboard. The cupboard would have been a better option for us. But actually, we use it a lot more than what we think. Because when we go away on hookup, which we do a lot, we join both of the clubs, and we like to go on hookup because we don't have to worry about anything. We can leave everything on, leave the fridge on, and you're not worrying at all about any of it. And in the winter, obviously, you can have your heating on. It's all running off electric. And these vans get very toasty very quickly because we've never had one before. I've got nothing to compare it to, but I did have a boat previously, and that had a diesel Webasto heater, and to be honest, I still needed to have a jacket on when I was on the boat during weather like it is today. But on this, honestly, it's well, I think it's cheaper to run than the central heating at home at the moment. I mean, it's great. It gets really toasty really quickly. It's the Wales system, works really well. But the microwave, I find it really useful. We use it all the time. For what we do now is we cook some meals before we come away and keep it in the fridge or freezer. and then we can just microwave it, and there you go. And it saves, because you're limited on space when you're cooking. It can, you know, you're getting in the way and you're blocking the gangway there. Your food is very convenient, and then you can just get on with what you like, which is just enjoying it, relaxation and the leisure of it all. So the microwave has come in very handy. We use it every time we're cooking on the van. We use it, so that has been a major advantage to what I expected. So what else can I say about it that maybe I don't like? Now, when we were first looking at vehicles, I was looking at all the Continental vans, which tend to have their opening door, sliding door on the other side, obviously because they're originally meant for the European markets. And I was quite adamant I wanted one of the British ones. I wanted everything to be as it should be. So when you are on a campsite, you reverse on like you're supposed to, and you don't have to go on forwards. I wanted everything to be simple. And also, if you're dropping somebody off who is in the back, if you do carry somebody with you, then they can just step out onto the pavement and not step out into the middle of the road. It's just small things, not really anything to worry about. Some of them vans were great, and I was looking at some of them, and to be honest, and I would agree with a lot of people, one thing I'll say about these Elddis: great layout, nice looking van, based on the Fiat Ducato, so you know, very reliable. We know what we're getting with this, but the build quality isn't quite top range to some of the German brands, for example. Some of them German brands, you could get one that's 10-15 years old and it's still built like you would expect it to be built. Things tend to rattle on the Elddis. I've noticed a couple of the plastic openers for the covers have snapped. The little window tighteners, they're very weak. You know, some of these things probably apply to other vehicles as well. But yes, I would agree with what a lot of people say about the Elddis, and that is that the build quality isn't quite up there with some of these top European makes. And I think if you read everything about them, you would come to the same conclusion as well. And I definitely come to that conclusion. I've got nothing to compare it against, but it definitely, a few things I've noticed where the build quality isn't quite. But when it was only 40-something thousand pounds, you kind of, that's still a bargain for what it is. If the price is now right up at the premium level, then we're going to expect more from Elddis. Now, if I'm being honest, my one doesn't seem to be as badly built as others. Mine's a very early one from 2019, and I'm very lucky. I think I'm very lucky. I don't have the AdBlue in mine, so it's one less thing to worry about. Where do I fill up with the AdBlue, etc. My one doesn't have that, but it's still Euro 6 compliant as far as I know, so that's great. So if you're looking at buying one, you know, don't not consider an older one, because if you haven't got the AdBlue, it's just one less thing to worry about, to be honest. I don't have to, you know, every 7,500 miles. So that's one of the things I don't like about it as such. There isn't actually too much more I could say. I could nitpick. I could say that the TV aerial and booster system is rubbish. The way it's been wired, a lot of more cleverer people than me have described the issues on some of the Elddis Facebook pages and how you can overcome the issue. But basically, it's absolutely tosh, because you can't get a very good TV reception, whatever. So, you know, if you're using your Wi-Fi and your Netflix and whatever else, it's not a problem. But if you're relying on the booster and the TV, unless you're right next to a transmitter or you're facing the right way, you're not going to get a very good signal. And if you plug a USB, something into a USB port that's onto the same plug as where the TV plugs in, then the signal just disappears completely. It's just very poor wiring on Elldis's part. It could have been done a lot better. But from reading what I have, I believe these older ones are built slightly better than some of the newer ones. Maybe they were trying to catch up with orders, because some poor people have had to wait like 1.5 years for their van to turn up. I mean, I don't know how you get your patience. And some people have cancelled their orders and gone and bought something else, and you can't blame the people for that. So what I would say is there's more on the market now for sale, and you can get decent second-hand ones. I mean, we bought this and it had done 13,000 miles. These vans can do 500,000 miles, no problem at all. They're meant as white van man. They, you know, Amazon delivery driver vans. They can go on forever. 13,000 miles is nothing, but that's classed as high mileage. And therefore, you're buying them a bit cheaper. So don't be scared of a bit of mileage. If a van's been used, you'll generally find it's more reliable. And that's something I understand, and I understand that to be true from things I've bought in the past. If it's used regularly, even if it's slightly higher mileage, you usually find it works better than something that's just been sitting there. So I think what I'll do now is I'm going to pass this over to Sarah. I'm going to ask what she likes about it, and some of the things might be the same things as what I've said, so I hope we don't bore you with it. If you're looking at an Elddis, please drop a comment in the box below. Let us know what you're thinking of buying, and tell us your thoughts on your Elddis if you own one already.
Hi. And the reason I like the... Oh no, don't
You
do
obviously
that.
like it that much, you've forgotten what it's called.
I know I have.
Elddis CV40?
Oh yes, the Elddis CV40. The reasons I like this is probably 2 or 3 main reasons. Firstly, I love the captain chairs. So the captain's chairs swivel around to the seating area, the table, and really it's a great place to relax in. You don't always want to sit up. You don't want to make the bed up at the back of the van, and so that's really nice. I love that. It's really comfortable. In actual fact, they could do with having a TV put above the table, in actual fact, and then you could be camped there on these captain chairs for the evening. As I say, they swivel around, they're really big and comfortable. Secondly to that, it's a small vehicle, as you know, and there's plenty of storage space, and you don't want to pack it up with a load of stuff, because then obviously it's going to be weighty when you're actually driving it around. However, I've put everything in there that we will need for a week away, and yet I still have storage. And they're probably the 2 main reasons. Oh yeah, and also the wet room. So the wet room, it doubles up, even triples up. So yes, there you've got your toilet. I love it that the shower acts like a wet room, so you could just close the door and the water can just go everywhere. It's really easy to sort of clean, and also you can use it as a like an airer. So when you're away in the winter, if you want to air your wet clothes, you've come in from a walk, it's fantastic for just hanging up in there. So they're my 3 main reasons why I love this vehicle.
Okay, thank you. So a lot of that would pertain to lots of vehicles, wouldn't it? So
Yes.
Over the Elddis, what would you say the main reasons I've already put forward mine, but why would you choose that van over a motorhome?
I think the reason be it, not that I will ever drive this vehicle, because that's Wayne's job to do such thing. I come as the hostess and everything, and I clean the vehicle, but it is really easy to clean because it is a smaller vehicle, and it's great to maneuver into smaller places. And I love it with the doors, the back doors that open up. So when you're visiting an area on a lake or by a river, or even at the beach on a campsite, open up the doors. It's just absolutely stunning, which you don't have on a motorhome.
Yeah, it's been the right choice, hasn't it? You'd say that the van has fulfilled all of our wishes regarding a leisure vehicle. And
Absolutely. I wouldn't. Yes, you could think, oh, let's have a motorhome. You get that more of a width, but no, absolutely. You're using it as generally somewhere where you want to sort of bed down. You're using it as a base, and that's exactly what it is. But it's cosy. It's really nice. We've been away with it in winter. To say the captain's chairs spin around, they're really big and roomy. No, I wouldn't swap it for a motorhome or a bigger vehicle. I think it's absolutely perfect for 2 people. Even a third would take in my son. It's absolutely fine for a weekend. I just wouldn't swap it.
And just to add balance, Sarah, what are some of the things maybe you don't like about the Elddis CV40 that might apply to other vehicles as well, but what don't you like about it?
Do you know what? There's only one thing that I don't like about this vehicle, and it's probably something that if I got a little bit creative or looked on a forum, I could probably find a make do or work around. But I'm not inclined to. So what I'm talking about here is at the back of the CV40, you've got your bed. You make up your bed, and then that's it. There's no place or space or area that you can easily put your cup of tea. It's okay for the person that sits on the outside, that goes onto the wet room. they can maybe put it on the floor or something, but I still don't think that's great. We've looked and we've tried and we've looked at workarounds, but it's not easy. So you're almost like trapped in the bed and you just want to put your cup of tea, and I think that's lacking. I'm sure there's something that can be done with that for the model going forward.